Good morning and welcome to the Oasis Center for Spiritual Living, where we come together as one, providing spiritual tools for daily living. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Reverend Tucker. I'm the senior minister here at the Oasis. And I have this wonderful team that God has provided me that I always like to introduce because they do all the work. I just talk. First off is my faithful assistant, Faith, who has been my assistant since the day she was born, basically. Her dad used to work the soundboard, and he would have, when she was like 3 weeks old, he'd have her in one arm and work the soundboard in the other. And then when she got old enough to crawl, she crawled right up on stage, and we just kind of left her there because she looked like she belonged there. And we used to sit her on the podium when I would do announcements, and I think people paid more attention because she was up there. So anyway, and so she grew up like 6 blocks from my house. So when her dad would go on out-of-town tows, he was a tow truck driver. When he would go on out-of-town tows, he would bring the girls to my house. And I'm a project person, so there's always a project going on at my house, always. And so I would put the girls to work, of course. And when Faith was 14 and a half, she said, I want to have a real job this year. And I said, okay, well, I had seen you, I'd seen you work, so I knew you would be perfect for my ozone business. So I hired her. And we got to do a lot of fun stuff with the ozone business, going to Costa Rica for the Medical Ozone Without Borders conference and everything. And so she's been my faithful assistant all this time. And of course, when we went live, I said, would you be willing to do my ministerial assistant? And she said, yeah, I could do that. And I was like, okay, cool. So for 3 years, she's been my ministerial assistant as well. So she is the one behind the scenes that does everything. I just talk, and so when we're in a facility, we like people to say, we see the shining faces, beaming back at us. And so I feed off of that. Here we get just a number. We don't even get names or anything. So I always ask you to please say hi, hello, good morning, however you'd like to greet us. And then Faith is the one that answers you. And, between the two of us, we have one brain, I think. So,
yes.
So I've only had to go back and say a little bit more twice, I think, in 3 years. But I always go back and check and make sure. But anyway, and she's also our soloist. But today, instead, because today is her birthday, I'm not going to make her sing.
Thank you.
So I am going to play one of Reverend Fairy Lane Silver's songs that she has given her permission for us to do. But I think I'm going to do it at the end. So if they mute us, it's not like in the middle of the service. So I think we're going to just switch that around a little bit. But normally Faith is our singer, our soloist. So thank you, Faith. I couldn't do this without you. So happy birthday and thank you. I love you.
Thank you. Love you too.
And then there is my partner in crime, the wise and powerful Oz. And he's available for what we call our 1-minute miracle at the very end. He also is going to do the invocation and the benediction as practitioner of the day. So Oz and I have known each other since 1998. We just celebrated our 25th anniversary together. When we went, he moved out. He was my board president for 7 or 8 years, and he moved out to Florida, so we couldn't have him in the service anymore. And so when we went live for the pandemic, I said, are you willing? And he said, yeah. And so here we are 3 years later, and the team is back together, and I feel like the band is back together,
Almost 4 years.
Yeah, almost 4 years. Wow, isn't that crazy? March will be 4 years, won't it?
Yeah, March or April.
Yeah, I think we went live in April, because they closed us down in March, like the 22nd of March or something like that.
And I first saw you on Easter during the lockdown.
Yeah. So it was April. Yeah. So yeah, April will be 4 years. We'll have gone live. So anyway, thank you so much for being here, Oz. I appreciate you and I love you. Okay, so I'm going to, let me think about what I need to say real quick here. I'm kind of off today for some reason. Again, say hi, hello, good morning, however you want to greet us. Also, there's a watch party button if you'd like to invite your friends. It's a great way for them to see what kind of services they can expect on Sundays. And it's a great way for you to answer their questions because you're chatting basically privately with them. So hit that watch party button and invite all your friends. All right. And now I'd like to invite you to close your eyes if that feels comfortable. Allow the service to uplift and inspire you as we move into our centering song.
Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can feel the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place. Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can feel the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place.
The presence of God is always right here and right now, for God, as we conceive of it, stretches from the farthest reaches of the universe to the smallest of subatomic space. It is all one thing, one great presence, and it indwells and animates each and every one of us for all time. Here, the future, and the past, God's presence has never been absent. And we know that God's presence is here in our service, and we give thanks that it reaches out to where you are right here, right now, wherever that now and here is. And we know that this is good and very good. And we give thanks that this is so. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Oz. This next song is one of Reverend Fairy Lane Silver's that she wrote when she was in practitioner training. And it's a great reminder for us that we are all connected.
We are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it. I hear it and know it, my being. Spirit is all I am seeing. For God is all there is. Grateful am I to be living, open to what I receive, honoring what I've been given, sharing now what I believe. I remember the oneness around me. I surrender to infinite light, knowing the love that's surrounding me is within me by day and night. And we are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it. Yes, we are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it.
Yes, we are all one in it. If you like something that you hear, whether it's something I say or Oz prays or any of the music, hit that like button. Let us know that you like it. And if you love it, please send us hearts because we love to get love. If something strikes you as powerful, by all means, use that wow button. It gives us great feedback and lets us know when we are on track. And that's important to us to know. Let's see. We're doing something totally different today. So I'm just going to start talking. It's so interesting when I don't follow my own order of service. So we've been doing the series Back to Basics for the last 3 weeks, which are the first 4 chapters of our textbook. And that is the thing itself, the way it works, what it does, and how to use it. Now, this is the 3rd week, so we're going to be doing what it does. The first week, we talked about the thing itself, that there is an indwelling presence within each of us that is the thing itself, which is God within us. And our bodies and our lives have this divine blueprint that is the truth about us. So in a nutshell, the thing itself is God. And that is not God out there somewhere up in the sky or God is all around us, in us, and through us. I look at it as like a watermark on a page where the flow of God just flows right through us, that we are the watermark. And you know how a page flows through the watermark? Well, that's kind of how I see God flowing through us. And it's a different version of God than maybe you were raised with. But for me, it's a much more satisfying version of God. I can't get into the personhood of God, whether it's a male or a female. When I was a kid, I was Orthodox Jewish. And so, you know, there was all this talk when I was a little girl about how Eve, sinned and made Adam sin by taking a bite of the apple. And so therefore, women are deemed evil. It's really hard to grow up with that image when you're a little girl that God prefers men over women. And so what I like about God, our version of God, is that the way it works is through love and law. Okay. Love is impersonal. In other words, it doesn't have a preference. God does not have a preference for race, creed, color, gender, preference, anything. There is no preferences there. And that's very comforting to me. But it also means that you don't have a 911 God, right? Because our version of God doesn't include the 911 aspect of it. A lot of religions teach that, you pray to God and God swoops down and takes care of the problem and rescues you from it. We don't believe in that kind of God. We don't flag down cars to hit us and then trust that God's going to take care of us, because we don't believe in that rescue God, right? So what we say is that, yes, you can trust God, but you don't want to go out and do something where you need to be rescued in order to prove God to yourself, right? We believe in a pill and a prayer. That's where we're different from Christian Science, for example, even though some of our roots have some Christian Science background to it. We believe in a pill and a prayer because we believe that God works through the doctors as much as it works through the prayer, right? And who created doctors anyway, right? If God created everything, then it makes sense that God would have created doctors and medical science. And so we rely on all of that, knowing full well that the power, it lies in God. And so we trust that the medical hands that are treating us are as infused with that God presence as we are, right? So that's kind of the difference between us and Christian Science, for example. But that's all very impersonal. It's not this person gets more bonuses because they pray, or this person doesn't get as many benefits because they don't pray. That's not what we teach. We also teach, because it's love and law, that the spiritual laws are impartial. It works the same for everyone, regardless of color, gender, orientation. If I go turn on that light switch over there, it is going to turn on for me just the same as it would for anyone. And so God is the name that we give to universal spiritual law, just like gravity is one of the names we give to physical law. And we know that gravity works anywhere we are, except for maybe up in space, right? And so we say that the spiritual laws work the same way. The law of cause and effect, meaning that a thought will cause something to be in action, whether that's a conscious thought or an unconscious thought, it still causes something to be in action. So that's the law of cause and effect. There are effects for every cause that we implement, whether that be thought, action, or deed. We're not punished for our sins, but by our sins, because sin is missing the mark, right? That's an old arrows. I can't think of it. Archery. That's an old archery term, as sin is to miss the mark. And so we don't believe in sin as the kind of sin that most religions teach. We believe that it's a correctable thing that we have done, and what we have done has created an effect. And if we can correct missing the mark, then that corrects the outcome. So that's the law of cause and effect. The law of circulation, meaning that, giving and receiving are the same. You cannot give something without a receiver, and you cannot receive something without a giver, right? So it's all part of the same thing. The one that is most popular these days is the law of attraction, although it's not really as easy as it gets taught on TikTok or Facebook Reels, right? We've been teaching it. So like Ernest Holmes, Dr. Ernest Holmes, our founder, has been teaching spiritual law since 1919, right? And so when you're talking about the law of attraction, you also have to take into account that we have beliefs that are in our subjective mind that are keeping us from our good, or are creating something without our conscious awareness. Okay, so I'm going to bring up the teaching symbol again, because I want to just go over that really quickly before I get to what it does. Our teaching symbol is a way for us to explain how creation works. Okay, first of all, you have this circle, this unbroken circle, which is the unity of all life, meaning it is all one. There is no other, right? And it's unbroken, meaning it never has a beginning or an end. And then even though we can't part out God, like you can't really, divide God into parts. For the purposes of us illustrating how this works, we've had to kind of divide it up. So we've cut it into three parts. The top part is the conscious mind. And conscious mind is where the ideas are formed, right? So God thought us into being in this conscious mind. When we use it individually, it's like we come up with an idea, say for Plato, for example, we come up with an idea of what we want to see, and that's in the conscious mind. Then that middle portion is the subjective mind. Now that's the sea of receptivity, and that is also God's stuff. So when God thinks something into being, it uses the conscious mind to come up with the idea, pushes it through that subjective unconscious, or the God stuff, and it creates the bottom part, which is form. When we use these three parts, what happens is you see that V that goes from conscious mind through subjective mind into form and then back up again. If I have something in my subjective mind that counteracts that conscious idea that I want to create, then it's not going to reach that form at the bottom, right? When we're doing Play-Doh, we come up with the idea, we use the Play-Doh as the middle portion, and then in the bottom is actually where you see the form of the idea that you had. And so if I have something in my subjective mind, such as I'm affirming that I make $10,000 a month or more, right? And the subjective mind says, oh gosh, there's no way you can make $10,000 a month. Then it's going to bounce right back up. It's not going to create into form. However, if I work with those beliefs that are stuck in that, what I call the subjective mind is a hard drive of a computer where everything that we've ever experienced and all of our reactions to it is stored. And so our beliefs are derived out of that. It's like a feedback loop that we have. And so if we work with those beliefs, then we're going to be able to have a conscious idea. It will pass through that subjective mind and go into form. If, however, we are not conscious of what we're creating. So I always look at it this way, like when you're driving a car for the first time, you have to keep your mind on everything that's going on, where you put your feet, where your eyes are, you're looking in the mirrors, you're doing all of this stuff. And then after time, you begin to build these grooves in the brain that allow the synapses to fire easier, so you don't have to think about all of those things. So then it becomes rote. You can put your foot on the brake or the gas. You don't have to look in the mirrors quite as much. You are more conscious of what's going on around you and where you're headed to. And so a lot of times with practice, everything goes into the subjective mind without our conscious awareness. So sometimes we are creating from those beliefs that are in that subjective mind, and we never even have a conscious thought about it. And they create into form, and then we go, where did this come from? Well, it came from our subjective mind, right? And so you see that the V returns back up. Well, I liken that to a garden, okay? You plant the seed, right? The seed is that conscious mind, that upper portion. You plant it in the soil. You feed it water and sunlight and everything else that it needs, nutrients, perhaps fertilizer, right? It turns into a plant in the bottom there in the form section. And then what happens at the end of the season is it returns back into the nothingness from which it came, right? That's the way creation works. Our creations will last as long as they need to last, and then they return back to the nothingness from which it came, and we create a new creation. Now, I explain all of this when I'm talking about the law of attraction, because it's very important for us to recognize where we have these little potholes, so to speak, that the magnetic attraction has to pass through. And so when people are teaching the law of attraction, they're talking about do these affirmations, think these positive thoughts, and visualize that this is coming to you. But if you have something in that subjective material that's going to keep it from getting there, you definitely want to work with those beliefs. And some of the beliefs you're going to want to keep, some you're going to want to change, and some you're going to want to get rid of altogether, because they're impeding the creative process of your life to be the way you want it to be, right? And in saying that, I also want to just point out that the mind that creates is not always the mind that receives, because we are constantly evolving. And so we might decide we want to manifest, I don't know, a pink Cadillac, for example. And by the time we get the pink Cadillac, it doesn't satisfy us because we have grown past that. And what we understand is that we want security, we want safety, we want all of the things that pink Cadillac represented in the background, not the status part of it, but the part of it that actually serves us. And so I put that caveat in there because I know that some people will manifest things and then look back on it and go, what was I thinking? And that's because your consciousness has grown since the moment that you prayed that, or the moment that you manifested that. Okay, that explains law and love. And so now I want to talk about what it does. And that means not only God within us, but it also means this philosophy, because it transforms us versus changing us. Okay. And I want to definitely say there's a difference between, hi, Chica just popped up and would like to say hi, I guess. There's a difference between transforming and changing. In transformation, what's been changed cannot change back, you see. Once you have transformed into a lighter being, you cannot go back to the darkness. And so it's important for us to know we can change our beliefs, we can change our lives, we can change our minds, but we cannot change that that has already been transformed. And when we have been transformed, what that means is that we are now living as a spiritual being doing, that's why I call people human doings. We are doing things in the physical realm, but our nature, our basis, our urge, our desire for life is a spiritual being. And so I used to separate myself, for example, like I was a different person with one friend than I was with a family member, than I was with, my husband than I was with people at church. And Dr. Fred Vogt, one of my mentor ministers, used to say, I'm the same person in the pulpit that you meet on the street. And he said, that's important that we are the same person no matter what. And I really had to work with that material for a minute, because I was so used to, I was a people pleaser. So I was so used to being a different person with whoever it was so that I could please them. And once I really enveloped all of these teachings, I realized that I have to be the same person so I can be in integrity. Because if I'm authentic, if I'm myself, if I'm totally 100% authentic, then it doesn't matter who I'm with, because I'm showing up as myself no matter what, right? And so this brings us to the oneness when we really think about it, because we are one person, we are one being, we are one life. And again, there's no beginning, no end. There's no place where I leave off and the other begins. It's just the oneness of all life. But that brings you to a place where you live authentically from yourself, from your core of who you are. And I think that's really, really important. That's one of the most important things that we need to embrace. Because as long as we are ourselves, authentically ourselves, then we are always in creation mode. It's when we become people pleasers that the universe gets very confused about what we want, because we'll say one thing when we're with a friend, and we'll say another thing when we're with a family member, and we'll say another thing when we're at church, and we'll say another thing when we're at work. And so we keep giving all these mixed signals to the universe, right? I use God. God is my word because it's important to me, but I don't care if you call it spirit or great spirit or Allah or universe, whatever you want to call it, it all works the same. It's the same thing. But the universe takes the material that we say we want, the conscious mind, we say, okay, I want this, and the universe, which is all the rest of the parts of that, start to work on that request, and it creates from that request. Well, if we come up with something that is different than that in 5 minutes, then the universe doesn't know what to create. So that creation process gets stopped. So it's really important that we are in integrity at all times. We are authentically ourselves, so that we are bringing forth the same message always. Okay. No matter who we're around, we always have the same message. This is what I want to create. I like to listen to Abraham Hicks, and this is actually, I can't remember what her name is, but she channels this entity called Abraham, and the information is always so interesting to listen to. He, I should say, because he's male, we think, is that you're in this vortex, okay? And so if you're in the vortex, you are creating automatically. The universe is creating everything that we wanted, and we're drawing it into ourselves when we're in the vortex. That's kind of like the eye of the hurricane, so to speak. So everything is swirling around us, but we're not affected by, wars in other countries and politics in our United States or any of those things, because we're in the vortex. So we're living beyond all of that. We are living in the center, the eye of the hurricane, and letting all of that stuff just sort of fluff around us while we receive that which we have already created while we're in the vortex, because we are, that's where our happiness, our joy, our place of peace is. And so what it does is it creates peace, right? It creates peace, optimism, possibilities, and integrity. So when I'm aware of my oneness with all life, if I'm aware that God is creating through me in that process of creation I just explained, when I am aware that I need do nothing really except to hold that thought, so to speak, of what it is that I want to create, and I have the emotional energy that is more creative. We don't create every single thought, thankfully. I'm really happy about that, because I can't imagine. We have something like 400 thoughts a minute. Now think about this for a minute. How many of us go, oh, do I want that? No, not really. Yeah, I do. I kind of want that, but I don't really. Think about what the world would be like if every thought was creative. So what we have to remember is that it's the preponderance of our thoughts that is created. And so what I focus my attention on, as Dr. Ernest Holmes says, I create more of what I focus on. So if my world is focused on the one thing that I want to create, that's what I'm going to create. If my focus is on all the negative things in the world, then I'm going to create negative stuff in my universe. So in my experience. And so where peace comes from is when we know that we really don't have to do anything except hold that thought of what we want, and we experience that peace. So peace is found in the vortex, as Abraham talks about it, because that's the place of power. That's the place where we sit and nothing in the world, all this stuff out here, doesn't affect us anymore. And when that happens, then we are totally at peace. And so this philosophy teaches us to focus our attention on that God within us and our power and our presence. And it's not power over or power under. Please understand, when I talk about power, I'm talking about personal power that is just God-given, right? We have power because that's what we're made of. We're made of God stuff. And so that power doesn't laud itself over anyone, and it doesn't recede because someone seems more powerful. We know that we have all the power that we could ever want already there from the universe inside of us, right? And so we embrace that power. And when we embrace that power, that's where the peace comes from. That's also where the optimism comes from, because we get pessimistic when we think that the economy, for example. I was explaining to one of my friends the other day, there are people in a bad economy that flourish, right? They do really well. Their business does well. They have plenty of money. They do just fine in a bad economy. And there are people in a very good economy who are poor, right? And so the difference really is what we think about it, right? If we think that that the economy has some kind of power over us, then we're going to suffer. But if we understand that the economy is just an outpicturing of what's going on inside of us, and we change that, we alter that, then we know that, because collectively, everybody's saying, oh, the economy's terrible. That's what's in that sea of receptivity right now, is that the economy is terrible. Yes, prices have gone up. Yes, things have gotten more expensive, but the economy itself has adjusted to that. So people are making higher wages, and, things are happening to support that. And it's not going up anymore, right? It has stopped. And so when we are, we become optimistic when we recognize that we have power no matter what's going on in the world. We don't have to be at the effect of the economy. We don't have to be at the effect of the wars. We don't have to be at the effect of all the politics. We don't have to be at the effect of what's going on all around us, right? We stay in our place of power. And that's where optimism comes from. And it's also where all the possibilities are. For instance, there was a movie, What the Bleep Do We Know? And Maddie Maitland, whatever her name was, the one who's deaf, she was walking through the film, and she sees this kid, and he's playing basketball, and he has this one ball, and he is dribbling the ball up and down, up and down, up and down. And as long as she's watching it, that's all she sees. When she turns her back on that, she sees all these basketballs just floating around in the world. And then she turns back, and she only sees the one basketball. So this philosophy teaches us that there are many possibilities, more possibilities than we can even grasp with our human awareness. We know that everything is possible in God. And because we know that everything is possible in God, we embrace the possibilities. And because we embrace the possibilities, we have peace. We have optimism. And if we're living in integrity, we are creating the world that we would want to see, right? So this is what it does. Dr. Ernest Holmes says, every man stands in the shadow of a mighty mind, pure intelligence, and a divine givingness. Yet we allow ourselves to be distracted by a world that is filled with the appearance of limitation and disappointment. That's what happens to us when we get distracted, right? That's what happens when we get distracted. And so what it does is it allows us to keep our focus on that powerful presence within us. That is the place of power for us. That is the place of peace for us. And darkness is only the inability to see. It doesn't have a life force of its own. Cats see in the darkness, right? Scopes and flashlights were created so that we can see. God is always there, whether we see it or not, whether we feel it or not, whether we acknowledge it or not, it is always there. If God is all there is, then it is part of our makeup. That's why I think the Garden of Eden story is so improbable. Because they hide from God. How can you hide from God if God is all powerful, all present, all omnipresent, right? And so we have to be willing to allow it to work through us instead of looking for the rescue 911 kind of God. We have to embrace that is within us, providing us with all the power we could ever want, providing us with all the light, all the love, all the health, all the abundance, all the prosperity. Everything that we could ever need is housed within us because God lives within us. So the thing itself is God. This version of God, the God within us. The way it works is through spiritual law and love, not the kind of typical love that you see out there in the world between two people or between family members or whatever. It's not that. It's God's love that comes into us and comes out through us. And so what it does is it provides peace and optimism and possibilities and integrity. And it transforms us. Let's have a prayer. Right now, I just turn my awareness to the infinite power, the infinite presence, the infinite life of God. My awareness turns to that place within me beyond human understanding, where the power and presence and light of God flows easily and effortlessly through me. For that is where I find myself, in the midst of God, my very essence, my very life, my very being. It is who and what I am, and every thought, every action, every deed is guided and led by that ancient wisdom of the ages that is God flowing through me. I know the same truth to be so for the entire team, for Lynn and for Tina and for Oz and for Faith and Karen and Elaine. For we are one in that infinite power, that infinite presence of God. We are absolutely living through it. And that ancient wisdom of the ages flowing through us provides the leadership and guidance that we need for every facet of our lives. I know the same truth to be so for everyone here today, whether you're listening in real time or later on. For we are one. There's no place where one leaves off and the other begins. We are truly one with the universal spirit, with God, in God. And that same ancient wisdom of the ages flows through us as it flows through all of life. And so we are guided and led by that. And so I bless this coming week, because I know that this coming week is absolutely an experience of what it means to be our authentic selves, what it means to focus our attention and our intention on the God within us. I know that every experience we have this week reminds us that this philosophy allows us to create a life that we want to live. And all we have to do is change our thoughts and beliefs, and we can have that. And so I bless this week with those experiences, as I bless every name that is in the ministry of prayer together. Because I do know that whatever condition they are experiencing, whatever form their expressions have taken, is not as powerful as the God within. And so I pull back the veil right here, right now, and reveal that power of God through that experience. I claim it as good and very good here and now. And so I just fill my heart with gratitude at this moment for that being so, and for being in service this way. And so I just let it be. And so it is. Okay. Right now is our opportunity to receive your gifts, tithes, and offerings, and your opportunity to share with gratitude and to feel gratitude for that which you have received in the physical realm, or that which you have created in the mind of God and yet have not yet experienced in the physical realm. In a minute, I'm going to ask you to go to www.oasiscsl.org, and there's going to be an offering affirmation there. And then directly under that is going to be a contribute now button. So I want to talk about contribution real quick, because I want you to know what you're contributing to. When we're in a facility, it would be rent and utilities and, all of the things that go with a facility. Well, we don't have a facility anymore. So what you're contributing to is our vision and mission. Our vision is a healed world, and our mission is healing the world one person at a time. And I'm talking global. Like, we already have people from the Netherlands or Holland, the UK or England, Germany, Philippines, and India. But we'd really like for it to reach out into the world at large, the global world. And it takes marketing to do that. And marketing takes money, unfortunately. So when we ask you to contribute, what we're saying is, please help us reach our vision by supporting our mission. So whether you're watching in real time now or you're watching later on, please go right now to www.oasiscsl.org. About 2/3 down the page, you're going to see an offering affirmation. I'd like you to say that with me right now, please. This perfect gift is spirit in form, circulating and blessing all it touches. Freely I give, and joyously I receive. And so it is. Hit that contribute now button and help us reach our vision by supporting our mission right now. Okay. We have this wonderful team of licensed practitioners from coast to coast that serve our church in 3 different ways. First of all, let me just say that they are the healing arm of the church, first of all. And I like to call them the God Squad because I have this like image that got stuck in my head, I don't know, 25 years ago. I got this image stuck in my head of practitioners marching in and taking charge, right? I don't know how it like flew into my head that way, but I decided that they were going to be called the God Squad. And so our God Squad supports our church in 3 different ways. The first way is that they're available to do prayer for someone every day for a week. So if you would like prayer for something, put it in the comments section and the God Squad will pick up the prayer request. If you don't want it to be public, you can DM Faith and she'll make sure that the God Squad gets it. If you'd like to be part of our online community, for example, just type more in the comments section and Faith will add you to our public facing group page. And that's our online community. And you can chat with other members of the community. The second way that our practitioners support our members is through spiritual guidance. And our practitioners are available by appointment for a fee for spiritual guidance. So you reach out to them through Facebook and let them know, message them and let them know whichever one you pick that you would like spiritual guidance, and they will let you know how to pay for it. I don't get involved in that. They are separate businesses. So we have practitioners that use PayPal, some use Venmo, some use Cash App, some use Zelle, some use, I don't know, Wise. Yeah, that's the other one. So I don't get involved in that. They're separate businesses. So they'll tell you how to pay for it. You pay for it, and they will reach out to you at the appointed time by video chat so that you can get a session for spiritual guidance. Okay. And the third way is what Oz does every week, and we really appreciate that he does that because this is awesome. He does our invocations and our benedictions. He's called what we call our practitioner of the day. And so at the end of this, he will be available by appointment, or he will be available by video chat for our 1 minute miracle. It's not a time where you are going to get spiritual guidance, but you'll just let him know whatever it is that you're working with, whatever challenge you're experiencing, and he will stop, drop, and pray with you right then and there. If he doesn't answer right away, it means he's on with someone else, so call back a little bit later. But that's what our practitioners do in our church. So I always like to mention that because they are such an important part of our church. All right. And then we have Brooks and Bailey has these wonderful mala bead necklaces. This one's amethyst, so it's like $60. But they also have all kinds of gemstones that are like $30 and up for the necklaces. And then they have the bracelets. The necklaces have 108 beads. And the bracelets have 54 beads. And the reason I point that out is because the Hindus and Buddhists use it they move 1 bead at a time to do their chants, right? And so I say, when you're doing affirmations, do 100 a day. Well, this is a perfect way to count off your affirmations to make sure you're getting in 100 a day. And if you get the bracelets, they're 54 beads. And so you just use the bracelets twice, to get your 100 in. That you can reach them through Brooks and Bailey 0307 at Gmail, or on Facebook. They have their own Facebook page. All of it benefits the Rocky Mountain Lab Rescue. And whenever they're going to be doing an event, like they have a booth at an event, I try to share that on my Facebook and on the church's Facebook, so that you can go down and see in person the work that they do. They have other things besides mala beads. They have other jewelry, but they're wonderful ladies, and I think you really enjoy meeting them. We also have Angel Renee has an Etsy store with intention candles and an intention tea bag. This tea bag is one that you don't drink. You put it in your bath water, and she uses aromatic herbs that's infused in there to assist you in focusing on your intention, which we all know is one of the ways that the main way that we create the reality that we want. So these are supportive products for that. Then we have Reverend Ferry Elaine Silver's music. In case I didn't acknowledge that they were part of the team, I want to acknowledge that right now. Reverend Ferry Elaine Silver and Karen Drucker are a valuable part of our team. Reverend Ferry Elaine Silver has asked us to do more and more of her work. You can also, besides the website, you can also say, Alexa, play Elaine Silver, and you can get her music that way for free. But if you would like a CD, like the one we did last week and the one we're doing this week is off of her Ernest Holmes series, her CD. If you would like to purchase that, you go to her website. She doesn't have any way to change it so that she can put form of payment on it. But you go to her website, find out, it's called Ernest. I can already tell you that. And you would email her and let her know that you would like that. And she, or any of the other CDs, she travels around the country singing. And so she will let you know how to pay for it. And then she carries the CDs around in her car as she's traveling. So she's really good about getting them sent out right away. So that's how you would order from Elaine Silver. Okay. Then we have Karen Drucker, who has gifted us with her entire collection, which is like 20 CDs worth. And you can buy from her website. You go ahead and pay for it there. But you can buy it by the song. You can buy it a CD. You can buy a karaoke CD, a karaoke one song. You can buy a songbook, and some of the songs in the songbook have American Sign Language. Boy, I can't talk all of a sudden. And so it's a good thing I don't talk for a living, right? So, go on to Karen Drucker's website, and she has some wonderful stuff. Our favorites are the Songs of Spirit series. So there's Songs of Spirit 2, 3, and 4. And there are all kinds of chants that help you get into focus so that you're focusing on God, or you're focusing on the spiritual power that lives within you. She's got some that have like manifesting money. She has other ones about love, but they're all chants. And then she has some other CDs that really are just songs. So check these ladies out, buy something from them. We like to support those who support us. So definitely do that. Okay, we wouldn't be able to do music without those two ladies. I just want to say that on our Sunday services, it would just be me talking for an hour, and that would be so boring, I think. But whatever. Check out our website at www.oasiscsl.org. I don't know how I said that. www.oasiscsl.org. And there you're going to find video sermons of the last almost 4 years and audio sermons from years prior. We are also on YouTube for the video and SoundCloud for the audio under S. Tucker. But our website also has photos of different events that we've done, so you can get to know your spiritual family. So check us out. We are updating the website. I promise you, we are working behind the scenes to get that done. I've been a little backlogged since Lynn hurt himself. So we'll get it done eventually, but there are a lot of sermons on there, so you can check that out. All right, let's go to Oz, and then we'll have our music. You're on mute.
Here we go. And I know that right here, right now, that God's presence permeates our very existence. And I know this is true for all time and all space. And I let the blessings that flow from this perfection flow through each of our lives now and in the future. I give thanks that this is so, and I let it be. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Oz. All right, here we go. We'll see if they mute us. Hopefully they won't, but you just never know. I think it's this one. Is it that one? There it is.
You're sharing like the StreamYard screen. There's no music. You're just sharing this StreamYard screen.
Okay, I'm going to start that over again.
Do you want me to play it?
Let's see. I have to put this up here so that I can get to the.
What's the name of the song?
Build a Better World. Here it is. Okay, now I can do it. I see how to do it. Okay, there we go.
There's still no sound.
Okay, let's see. Now I can't get back to the thing here.
Where are you getting back to?
Trying to get back to StreamYard.
Oh.
Can you can you put us all in and I'll just
Yep. Everybody's here.
Okay. Thank you all for being here. I know there's 1,000 things you could be doing on a Sunday morning, and we are so blessed that you were here with us today. Join us next week for the end of the series, Back to Basics series, 10:30 a.m. Mountain Time next week. And of course, join us every week. Next month, we are going to be focusing on love. Imagine that, the month of love during February. So definitely check us out next Sunday, 10:30 a.m. In the meantime, we love you. Thank you for being here. Stay safe. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.